My name's Mike Gentile, and I got started with New Hope in December of 2010, and have been connected with them in some way, shape, or form since their founding. I was one of the first treasurers of New Hope, and I can tell you early on that we basically went from week to week on how we were going to be able to stay together. Today, it's much more sustainable than it was. I remember people talking about, in the beginning, let's put together a strategic plan, and my thought was, we don't need a strategic plan. That's a future-focused element. We need something to take care of panic, because next week, I don't know where we're going to get our money from, or the week after that. And we would scrimp and save and look for opportunities to have more fund drives to make things grow and develop. Today, it's much more stable. So what sets New Hope apart from other agencies kind of got placed in the very beginning, that you wanted to address family needs, which at that time were very, very sparse or very, very limited in what you can do with the family. For those that did have accommodations for families, many times the family was split up. We did not want that to happen. We wanted to keep that unit intact, and then we wanted to provide supportive services in the way of life skills and classes on how does the parent that needs to go out and find a job do an interview, keep a checkbook, how do they go about making a list of priorities, how do they put things into their calendar so they could act on them, giving them tools to work with, and then taking the children that were in that family and providing them with daycare so the parent could pursue work in the community, and also providing the children with an educational element. And then the best part was having those children come back to receive additional education even after the parents left. So that made New Hope very complete and very unique in their focus. That's kind of what New Hope was about, bringing that unit together so it could continue and grow as a family. We felt that that connection and that unit was part of the solution as much as anything else. We started out with one unit, building 409, and after renovating it and putting in an extensive amount of effort and time, we could only accommodate at most three families. And when I say accommodate 3 families, that's 1 bedroom per family. So we had, at one point in time, we had 1 bedroom that had as many as 8 people in it, because that was the family. So we needed additional housing. The other problem was funding. We went out and learned everything we possibly could about grants and opportunities for additional funding, and working with the township trustee. It was a big learning experience, and fortunately we had people who all had pieces of the answer, and our challenge was to integrate that together into a solution. So why do we have all of the features of New Hope, which is, child care, education for the parents, school for the children? Based on the research that was done and the people that got involved in the very beginning, they came with these elements as being needed. And that's kind of what came out of the study group early on. If you really wanted a solution, you had to have all of these components to it to have a positive outcome, a sustainable outcome, something that would give you beneficial results, so that you just didn't end up warehousing people, as it were, sending them out only to have them come back again. And because of those components, New Hope was very successful at putting people out into the community, into the next phase of their development. It just seemed very obvious after we listened to the experts and some of the directors that we had certainly saw that as part of the solution as well. So how has New Hope changed since it was founded, and how do we hope for it to grow, as it were? Well, it's expanded. We can now, with our new facility, we'll be able to take up to 12 families, maybe more. I'm not sure what the real number is, but back in the early days, we started out with 2 and 3 families and expanded that quite a bit. We really didn't have a school per se. That's changed with moving forward with the new site. There will be accommodations to be able to train and teach children, maintain a daycare with a consistency in it. So it's matured to the point where, again, I would say it's sustainable. I think we were learning in the beginning. Stability increased because the people learned more as we went through it. And then the board also learned more. And as the board transitioned, it began to see the needs and the support. So it was a learning process for everybody. And the lessons learned were transitioned from one group to the next. And they embraced those lessons learned and kind of build on them. Leadership has been one of the key things. The board certainly provides that. The various directors for the programs that are at New Hope provide that. So leadership and in both the board and both the executive directors have provided to make New Hope much more sustainable. Pursuing United Way membership, if you were a not-for-profit and you wanted to be known in the community and you wanted financial support and you wanted recognition, that was a natural way to go and grow. I had worked with, and others have worked with, United Way over the years through other not-for-profits. And it's a very, very sustainable, very logical move to make. They are basically the backbone of the not-for-profits in the community and are very supportive and very, very critical, I think, into being successful as a not-for-profit. What has surprised me most about New Hope and their growth over time, I think one of the things that surprised me was the fact that the children's program was such an integral part of the solution. And looking back, the original idea kind of worked with the family, provided some children support, but really that was a key part that needed to be bolstered to the extent that it had to go beyond daycare and into education. And what you were trying to do was break a cycle. And the way you break that cycle is you start with those children and provide them the tools that they need to kind of get out of the situation that they're in while you continue to work with the parents. And that kind of became obvious over time. I think Emily Pike was very instrumental in highlighting that, and because of her leadership and her stick-to-itiveness, that is a major component of New Hope's success. My favorite memory from my time at New Hope, well, there were a couple, but one that stands out in my mind was very early on. We were renovating the very first building, 409, and it had a back porch on it, which we had to turn into a bedroom. It was an enclosed porch. So one of the projects was to replace the windows with airtight windows because the ones that were out there were totally insufficient. And there was a young lady that decided to take on that task. And I happened to ask her, I said, what do you know about working with windows and repairing windows and replacing windows? And she said, nothing. How hard can it be? And that was a spirit that kind of permeated New Hope from the very earliest days, I think, until today. You know, the thought process is, how hard can it be? There's nothing that they would not do or take on as a challenge, and move forward from that point. If someone had very little information about New Hope and they were to ask me, I probably would end up talking their ear off, because I'm in the category of maybe too much information, but I certainly would highlight the fact of, you know, family unity is one of the key things of it. Education of the family is the second thing. Daycare and education of children is another aspect of it. And keeping that connection to the family even after they leave is another key feature. So families can come back for help, for questions, for resources, or what have you, that again makes New Hope unique in what they do. And I think that's only going to improve as New Hope moves to their new location.